All right, Jen, so the other day in the community tab, I asked you, should men start to wear skirts again? Your response? We're already halfway there with the oversized t-shirt style, so why the hell not? Not if it's during winter time. It'd be a little bit too breezy for the likes of me. Nope, some things should stay in the past, and this is one of them. Hell no. Simple? No. Gay. But the comment that got me worked up? No. Can't think of a style for skirts that would look good on men, nor can I think of a practical reason to wear one. Well, EJ Red, let me explain. So when it comes to functionality, skirts make a lot of sense, a lot more than skinny jeans. But seriously, they're easy to make, they require less material during manufacture, and they fit so many different body types. Skirts are also great in hot weather. You're not crowding the boys, you've got more room to breathe down there, and it eliminates chafing, if you know what I'm talking about. And let's not forget quick access, whether you're taking care of business in the bathroom or the bedroom. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Guys, you are able to make it happen. So with all those advantages and the fact that men were wearing skirts for thousands of years, why have skirts pretty much disappeared? Now, in today's video, gents, I'm going to be talking about the badass Scottish kilt, the manly Indian dhoti, the historical Roman toga, the still worn by the military Greek Fustanella, and of course, not to forget the Malaysian Sarong. David Beckham pulled it off, but who pulled it off even better? The Malaysian Royal Guards. Yeah, these guys just badasses. Now, the reality in the West is that most men will never wear a skirt. In public, at least. But seriously, it's usually going to be one of three reasons. First up, disapproval of society. Now, my thoughts on this is I don't care what society thinks. Yes, I do to a degree, but no matter who I vote for, the fact that I like to shoot guns, the fact that, I've got a mind of my own, society isn't looking out for me. So this should be one that try to have the inner strength to overcome. Now, this next one's a little bit trickier to navigate, and that's disapproval from your family and friends, because these are people we care about. And here's the deal. You may want to wear that skirt, you may want to wear that kilt, but what's your wife going to think about it? Your girlfriend? What are your kids? I grew up with a mom that loved to dress very, let's just say, sexy. We would go to church. I disapproved of this. I was embarrassed. And I get it. People around you, you love them and you want to appease them because that relationship is important. So this could be, for many of you guys, the most difficult one to overcome. The next thing holding you back, your own self-confidence. Now, stay tuned for the end of this video because I'm going to give you 7 steps if you want to start wearing a skirt or a kilt, how to actually do it. And of course, let's not forget the religious dogma. Deuteronomy 22:5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God. Now, the problem with this, even for a believer, is there's a lot left to interpretation there. I mean, it would have been nice for God to be a little bit more specific, and while he was at it, smite down square-toed shoes. But seriously, I don't see this pertaining to skirts because if you know your history, skirts have been around for over 100,000 years. The history of men's skirts and clothing. Now, archaeologists and anthropologists argue over the exact time frame, but it's believed men and women have been wearing clothing for over 30,000 years and possibly up to 3 million years ago, we started wearing furs. Now, the general consensus is that we've been draping skins on our body for over 100,000 years, and the earliest form of pinning that, of bringing it around, is a skirt and basically draping it over the body and wearing it almost like a dress. Now, in recorded history, the first instances we see of men wearing skirts are in ancient Egypt and ancient Mesopotamia. In fact, in the Mesopotamian kingdom of Sumer, we see a particular skirt worn by men known as the kanake. Now, the word kanake usually referred to a sheep's skin, but eventually became known as that skirt, which again was worn for ceremonial purposes. Now, when we look at the Assyrians, we look at the Babylonians, we look at the etchings, the carvings, the drawings that are left, we see that a number of kings and their servants and their attendants are all wearing garments that look like skirts, basically fringe clothing wrapped around their sleeved tunics. Now, the Egyptians, they were pretty equal opportunity here. Both men and women wore a very similar type of tunic that also had a skirt with it, and this was just simply common clothing for those that could have clothing like this because it still was relatively expensive, and we saw this for hundreds, if not over 1,000 years. And in fact, in the old kingdom of Egypt, again, we're going back like 2100 BC, there was a particular garment that was wrapped around the hips, and this was known as a shendit. These were depicted in hieroglyphics, and we know that it was made from a rectangular piece of material. It was wrapped around and tied in front. Now, as time moved on, we moved into the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. All of a sudden, you see the fashion trends shift towards longer skirts. And when we're talking longer, these things would go all the way down to the ankles and would start up at the armpits. So yeah, definitely a long skirt. Now, as time went on and we entered the New Kingdom of Egypt, it became fashionable for men to wear skirts that actually had a pleated triangular section, which underneath would also have a triangular loincloth. Now, of course, the Egyptians didn't have the monopoly on the man skirt because the Greeks also brought it in, the ancient Greeks, and in fact, they called this the chiton. Now, this is based off the Semitic word kitten, which is not to be confused with cat, which I'm probably mispronouncing all of this stuff. And if I am, let me know down in the comments, because you guys know I am not a historian. I'm a YouTuber just trying to put this information out there and enjoying doing it. But yeah, they saw this style worked. It's simple. So yeah, the Greeks were skirt wearers and they liked it. Now, of course, anything the Greeks do, the Romans think they can do better. So they went in and not only stole all their gods, but of course, stole the skirt as well. Now, the Romans, through conquest and probably other means of trade, all of a sudden you had the Celts picking up the skirt. You had Germanic people picking up the skirt, and everyone, yeah, really liked this chiton. And for hundreds of years throughout Europe, this style continued to flourish. Yeah, throughout France, you had the Anglo-Saxons, you had the Normans, you had the Franks. Everyone is loving this skirt because functionality-wise, it just got the job done, and it was easy to manufacture. When I say manufacture, I'm talking about people making by hand, because remember, all clothing at this point is made by individual. There's no such things as factories to be able to get your stuff. And again, to illustrate how powerful, how entrenched the skirt was at this time, let's look at the armor of knights. Yes, that is a metal skirt. Did it provide much protection? I'm not sure, but you know what? It looked good and yeah, it was fashionable. And here is the man skirt at the height of its power. You have arguably one of the most powerful men in the world, King Henry VIII right here, proudly wearing his skirt. Looking good, setting trends. You can bet that the nobility, everyone around wanted to, imitate the king. You don't want to go as high. You don't want to have the whole on codpiece like this guy was pulling off in his armor, which is actually a whole other story. But, skirts are just in. And when you see the most powerful, you see the guys at the top wearing these skirts, guess what? You want to imitate, you want to wear something like this. I mean, just look at the Duke of Ulrich right here. I mean, he's wearing this skirt. He's got that codpiece right in there. I mean, yeah, this guy is a trendsetter. So with all these functionality aspects, the fact it was at its height just a few hundred years ago, why did the skirt disappear? Well, first up, and this is something that human beings have done for a long time, we like to separate the genders. Men dress this way, women dress this way. Now, when we first were started wearing clothing, this was something that really wasn't practical, and you're probably more worried about just simply putting food on the table and surviving. But as we had more free time, more idle time, all of a sudden, yeah, we're dividing the sexes, and clothing and what you wear was one of the first and easiest ways to do this. Now, initially, these separations, and in different cultures around the world, is very small. Oftentimes, it's embellishments. It's actually the functionality of the clothing. It seems men in general, we get the short end of the stick. We don't get the fancy stuff, which when I think about it, brings me to a question. Why is it that women can wear men's clothing, and it's not really that big of a deal, but men can't wear women's clothing? It's kind of seems like a double standard. I'm not, saying that I'm going to be going out there wearing dresses, but people get all worked up about Harry Styles. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments below. You guys know I love hearing from you. I love learning from you. And of course, you're going to find some mistakes in today's video. Let me know. I'll try to make it better next time. Now, gender differentiation alone wasn't enough, but it did set the stage for what happened in the 13th and 14th century. What we saw all of a sudden is that scissors could be reliably made. All of a sudden, you had given people the ability to be able to craft clothing that was going to be a little bit more form-fitting to the body. And, especially in the Western world with modesty, it was seen as, you didn't want anything ever too close. Skinny jeans back then would have got you killed. But it was something that, we can actually make this new garment called trousers, pants, which for a lot of people, functionality-wise, especially maybe getting on and off a horse, being able to protect, those areas right in there, made sense for people in a lot of situations. Now, tights, hose, these were actually pretty common, not in the way we have them today with elastic materials, but they were made very, oftentimes with a stretch material like cotton, it would go back to a different form if exposed to heat. But what we saw with this type of clothing is all of a sudden people were able to make it easier, and all of a sudden you had a lot more people starting to wear pants. And the majority of people that were wearing this were men, but they were still in many cases wearing skirts over it. Well, as trousers and tights became much more common, all of a sudden the skirt for many people just really started to disappear. It was found to be redundant. It was found to get in the way. And so they started becoming shorter. They started just evolving into basically shirts as we know them today. And when I say many people, I'm talking more men, because on the women's side, well, again, they were wearing more dresses. They had clothing, again, that was very clearly separating them from the men. And all of a sudden, especially as Christianity, Islam, other religions around the world took greater hold and became a bigger part in people's lives, all of a sudden the separation of men and women and showing those gender differences, especially from a distance, all of a sudden became a bigger deal. The death of the skirt, though, came in the Victorian era. This is the great masculine renunciation. Basically, men stopped wearing really flashy clothing. You saw Beau Brummel come in, and a number of these other guys all of a sudden were wearing dark colors. The suit came to become the man's uniform. And the dress and the skirt, this was definitely all of a sudden sided over with being feminine. So no longer was it something that a king would wear. No, all of a sudden kings are wearing suits, they're wearing dark colors. Adding to this and making sure the skirt never came back, we see the rise of factory manufactured clothing. Clothing used to be, in pretty much for most of human history, was made by hand by both men and women. But in 1711, we started to see factory clothing start to come up. 1811, actually over 30% of clothing was made in factories, or at least the pieces for it. All of a sudden in 1911, that was turned on its head, and only 30% of clothing was handmade. And nowadays, I would say in 2011, 1% of clothing, less than 1%, was handmade. Why this is important? Because we're not going to go out there and make clothing. Therefore, what we have, our choices, are dictated to us by basically, what society says we should wear. And when I say dictate, forced, maybe that's too hard. I would say economically incentivized. Because why would you spend 30 hours making a garment, which you could, when you could actually just trade that for 2 hours of labor? Now, just if you enjoy this video, do me a favor and smash that like button. Seriously, I appreciate it when you guys engage with this video, and it lets me know to create more videos like this. Now, is the skirt going to make a comeback? A lot of you guys are over in India watching this, or St. Antonio. It never left. And you are exactly right, because if we get our head out of just Western society, we'll see many parts of the world are still wearing skirts. The men over there love them because they know the benefits. I mean, let's just look at the Indian dhoti, also known as the veshti, and it comes with many other names. This has been worn for thousands of years, and these Indian men have been rocking it. And of course, I don't want to leave out my friends over in Pakistan or in Bangladesh. I see you. You guys are awesome. Now, at the beginning of this video, I talked about the Malaysian Sarong, and there are many different versions of this. I love the fact that it's still in one of their dress uniforms, just a great looking. It's, traditional garb. Not all guys are wearing this, but it looks good, and yeah, and not nearly as common, but still worn in one of their dress uniforms. We've got the Greek Fustanella, and if you're familiar with this, it actually has 400 pleats. And if you know what those pleats represent and you're Turkish, for bonus, let me know in the comments below, or if you're Greek, it doesn't matter. Or, I know Bulgarians, Greeks, Turks, you guys love each other, right? I'm going to get a lot of hate for that one. And of course, gents, the Scottish kilt, which right here, as we can see, James Bond pulled off a kilt. So what's holding you back from actually wearing a skirt? Well, I know what's holding a lot of you guys back is you just need to get started. So how to start wearing a skirt? Okay, so first up, do your research. Find the one that speaks to you. Maybe you're of Indian descent, you want to bring something back from your heritage. Maybe you're of Scottish descent. Find the style that works for you. Next up, join a group. And this is a very simple thing to do. Go on to Facebook. They've got different groups for different guys that want to wear different types of skirts. This one right here I found, Kilts and Culture Facebook group. This one, really healthy, over 20,000 members. Really cool. Go check it out. Next up, if you're going to do this, shore up support at home. Talk to your wife, talk to your girlfriend, talk to your kids. See what people think about it. And if they're against it, just ask them why, talk to them more. But basically, you want to have a soft landing when you introduce it. Step 4, keep it simple. I'm going to keep going back to kilts because I love these utility kilts. But again, if you can bring something in with your heritage, you're Malaysian, then bring in that sarong and fine. But that's what I love, is actually when you've got a connection, maybe you've been traveled to that country, but the utility skirt, again, for me, just seems like something I could wear around the house and, wear working in my garage. So buy it, keep it simple, and then practice. So yeah, wear it around the house. Don't wear it out in public. Simply wear it into your home office, wear it, into your own garage to work, around the house, because you're practicing, you're putting in the reps, you're getting used to it. Next up, wear out with friends and family. Again, these are people that know you're going to be wearing it. You've already worn it around the house. Maybe you didn't even think about it. And this is what you want to get to. The last point here is just simply take it from there. Because what you're going to find is once you've put in the reps, once you've practiced, you're going to forget about it and you are going to run to the grocery store, not even thinking that you're wearing this thing. And you're going to realize, hey, I enjoy this, or maybe you don't, and you'll become the talk of your town. All right, Jen, so what video to watch next? How about what happened to the cape? Why did men stop wearing capes? I got you covered in this video. I go into the history. I talk about the details. The boat cloak. Yes, I talk about it here. It is a good looking cape, and I do have one, and I wear it in this video. So check it out.